So, when I ask, what is Odoo? What comes to mind? Well, Odoo is a bit of everything. Odoo is a suite of business management software that some people say is like fertilizer because of the way it promotes growth. But some people also say Odoo is like a magic beanstalk because it grows with your company and is also magically affordable. But then again, you could look at Odoo in terms of how its individual software programs are a lot like building blocks. I mean, whatever your business needs, manufacturing, accounting, HR programs, you can build a custom software suite that's perfect for your company. So what is Odoo? Well, I guess Odoo is a bit of everything. Odoo is a fertilizer, magic beanstalk building blocks for business. Yeah, that's it. Which means that Odoo is exactly what every business needs. Learn more and sign up now at odoo.com. That's ODOO.com.
This episode of The Murder in My Family is brought to you by Madison Reed. Madison Reed has hair color that is gorgeous, salon quality, multi-dimensional, ammonia-free, and delivered to your door for less than $25. Visit madison-reed.com for 10% off plus free shipping on your first hair color kit with promo code FAMILY. That's code FAMILY.
You can support this podcast by visiting patreon.com/The Murder in My Family. This episode may contain unsettling material or subject matter. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome back for Season 2 of The Murder in My Family. In our last episode, Episode 10, we discussed the case of April Millsap, a 14-year-old girl who was murdered after leaving her home to walk her dog. The news of her murder devastated her mother, but thankfully, the case was solved and April's murderer was sentenced to a long prison sentence. In this episode, we talked to another heartbroken mother whose daughter was murdered after leaving home to go to the store, and sadly, this case remains unsolved and in limbo. California City in California is located in Kern County, about 65 miles from Death Valley. With a population of around 15,000 people, California City has a crime rate which is about 28% higher than the national average. Like many other cities across the U.S., drug use has played a role in some of the rising crime rates. Also, like many cities across the U.S., California City has been hit hard by a lack of money and resources, and this has directly affected the police and fire departments there. The result has been a feeling among area residents that they may not be as safe or protected as they would like to be. The police department was recently hit hard by 11 officers fleeing to take jobs with other departments. Things were so dire that unless a local tax known as Measure C wasn't passed, the police department would have dropped down to consisting of the police chief and 3 other officers. That's 4 officers to protect a city of 15,000 people 24/7 and to patrol the streets and investigate crimes. This has been the situation in recent years in this city. This is certainly not the best environment to investigate a murder. In fact, the California City Chief of Police was asked by a news reporter in June of 2018 if the city would become the Wild Wild West if Measure C wasn't approved. And his response was, quote, "It already is." Thankfully, the measure wound up being passed a month later in July of 2018. But it remains to be seen if the extra police resources will be enough to solve one of the most tragic cases in the recent history of California City, the 2016 murder of Deverrie Schiller. 23-year-old Deverrie Schiller, who had large green eyes and a big kind smile, lived with her mom Debbie in California City. She was the kind of girl that would leave an impression on you after meeting her. Although Deverrie came and went as she wanted, she spent much of her time at home helping Debbie with various medical conditions that she suffered from. Saturday, June 25, 2016, was a very hot day in California City, with a high in the mid-90s. As time passed, and the scorching day gave way to a hot night, Deverrie was restless, and she wanted to get out of the house. She told her mom she was going to walk to a local store, and asked Debbie if she could use her truck to drive to Taco Bell when she got back. The Taco Bell was located almost 30 miles away in the town of Rosamond, but since Deverrie loved Taco Bell, she didn't mind the drive. Debbie told Deverrie that they could discuss it after she got back from the store, and Deverrie left the home headed for the store, accompanied by a male friend. This was between 9 and 10 p.m. Deverrie told her mom that she wouldn't be gone long. As she walked out the door, Debbie told her daughter that she loved her, and she had no idea at the time that she would never see her daughter alive again. As time passed, Debbie wasn't overly concerned that Deverrie hadn't returned. After all, her daughter was an adult, and Debbie was used to her daughter heading out for stretches of time. Debbie didn't worry too much about her daughter being out at night, because she considered her daughter to be what she called a badass. It was the next day, Sunday, when Debbie finally started to get worried that Deverrie hadn't returned, and it was about noon when her concern turned to outright panic. Deverrie's grandmother sent a text to Debbie, letting her know that a body had been found in the park, across the street from Debbie's house. Worried by the news, Debbie immediately began texting Deverrie, but got no response. Debbie didn't want to accept that the body found in the park might be Deverrie's, so she decided to drive to some of Deverrie's friends' homes to see if anybody had seen her daughter. But she had no luck, and soon returned to her house. It wasn't long after arriving back home that there was a knock on her door. A knock that no parent ever wants to hear. The police were at Debbie's front door, and they were there to inform Debbie that the body found in the park was indeed Deverrie's. The devastating news immediately sent Debbie into shock. Some young boys playing near the park had discovered Deverrie's body lying in a dirt alleyway that ran between two fenced-in areas along the edge of the park. One of the boys raced home to tell a family member about what they had found, and the family member accompanied the child back to the crime scene. This person then called police to alert them about the body, and waited for police to arrive at the scene. While waiting, the caller did the unthinkable, and snapped one or more photos of Deverrie's body. Police arrived on the scene, and determined that the body was that of Deverrie Schiller. Later, the cause of death would be determined to be strangulation. Not many details were disclosed by police about the murder or what clues, if any, they have. In fact, it took investigators several months to fully interview the male friend who was the last person known to be with Deverrie. It's not known if the friend is considered a person of interest. Sadly, it wasn't long before the photos of Deverrie's body wound up making their way onto local social media, and Debbie, still grieving over Deverrie's murder, stumbled upon the image. As if the knowledge of what happened to Deverrie wasn't bad enough, Debbie now knows what it actually looked like. Fortunately, the photos were removed from social media, but the damage was done. As time passed with no arrest, Debbie found herself searching for the truth behind her daughter's murder, all the while continuing to battle multiple health issues. But that didn't stop the heartbroken mother. She thought of new ways to bring attention to the case. She had a friend lay in the spot where Deverrie's body was found to simulate the crime scene. In 2018, Debbie was inspired for her next idea to bring attention to the case by the movie 3 Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri. In the movie, an angry and grieving mother, unsatisfied with the lack of an arrest in her daughter's murder, rents space on local billboards in her town to voice her frustration with police. Debbie thought that this was a great idea and decided to create signs of her own on behalf of her daughter's case. The 3 signs were all positioned one after the other so that passing motorists could read them all. The first sign read, "Busting illegal grow houses is good." The second sign read, "Busting a killer would be better." The third and final sign read, "Dev Schiller, 1092 to 616, murdered, unsolved." The sign about busting illegal grow houses was a reference to the town's big drug bust of an illegal marijuana grow operation. While that was big news, it wasn't the news that Deverrie's mother, Debbie, was waiting for. She was hoping that the police would catch the person that killed her daughter. And while Debbie isn't trying to shame the police in any way, she knows that the signs have generated continued interest in news coverage in her daughter's case. Despite all of Debbie's efforts to keep Deverrie's case in the spotlight over the past 2 years, there has been no arrest, and if police are closing in on any suspects, they're doing it quietly. Debbie joined me to talk about Deverie's murder, as well as her own journey to find justice for her daughter. That discussion is next, after this quick break for our sponsor, Madison Reed. Today's episode is sponsored by Madison Reed. The future of at-home hair color is here with Madison Reed. Gorgeous, salon-quality hair color delivered to your door for less than $25. For decades, women have had two options when it came to coloring their hair: outdated at-home hair color or the time and expense of a salon. Madison Reed is reinventing hair color with the quality of salon color, the convenience and affordability of at-home hair color, and an ammonia-free formula made with ingredients you can feel good about. Anybody that knows me knows that I don't have hair, so I can't use Madison Reed even if I wanted to. But you know who does have hair? My wife, Mrs. Morph, and she uses Madison Reed and loves it. You will too. Join the hundreds of thousands of busy women who have tried and loved this life-changing hair color hack. Find your perfect shade at madison-reed.com. And Madison Reed would like to honor the Murder in My Family listeners with 10% off plus free shipping on their first color kit with the promo code FAMILY. That's promo code FAMILY.
So, when I ask, what is Odoo? What comes to mind? Well, Odoo is a bit of everything. Odoo is a suite of business management software that some people say is like fertilizer because of the way it promotes growth. But some people also say Odoo is like a magic beanstalk because it grows with your company and is also magically affordable. But then again, you could look at Odoo in terms of how its individual software programs are a lot like building blocks. I mean, whatever your business needs, manufacturing, accounting, HR programs, you can build a custom software suite that's perfect for your company. So what is Odoo? Well, I guess Odoo is a bit of everything. Odoo is a fertilizer, magic beanstalk building blocks for business. Yeah, that's it. Which means that Odoo is exactly what every business needs. Learn more and sign up now at odoo.com. That's ODOO.com.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities, so do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
And now back to the show. Debbie, thanks for joining me to discuss your daughter Deverie's case with us today.
Thank you for having me, sir.
And I know this has been so awful for you to deal with. As a parent myself, I can't imagine what it is that you've been going through. But I hope we can spread the word about Deverie's case and see if we can help bring it to people that might know something, and maybe we'll come forward with more information.
That would be awesome.
So it's been just over 2 years now since Deverrie was murdered in June of 2016, and this has been obviously a difficult couple of years for you. You battled to find answers in her case and spread awareness, and I've seen you on TV and on social media. And I think you've even said, in some of the news reports that you yourself are battling health issues on your own during this time. So all that combined, how bad has this last 2 years been for you?
Horrible. I've lost my family for the most part. We're not nearly as close as we once were at all. I have a lot of anger towards the world, and that's kind of made things harder. Deverrie was my memory keeper. I have severe memory issues, and she kept track of everything like that for me. So I've been kind of winging it for the last 2 years. It's been bad.
And you've made it your mission, it seems like, to really go out there and be out in focus and on TV and different news reports and stuff to really keep bringing this case to the public.
It's that's probably the hardest part. I don't like people. I don't human well. I live in a bubble, and that bubble is gone, and I have to be on the news, and I have to do these podcasts about I'm not grateful. But I don't like humans, and it's been really hard dealing with all that, having to give public speeches. I don't know what else I can do. I have to do this for her. She'd do it for me.
And you definitely want to honor her memory, so it's, it's understandable that you'd want to do this. And Deverrie was 23 at the time of her murder. Was she still living at home with you at that time?
Yes, sir, she was. And it wasn't like she couldn't go out and be on her own. She told me from the time she was little bitty, she was going to live with me forever. She was never moving out, but she didn't. She stayed with me.
So she was a mama's girl, sort of.
I don't know if the term would be correct to say maybe I was a daughter's mom. She took care of me, like when I got sick, because I had pancreatic disease, and I couldn't eat, and I had feeding tubes at times, and she did all that not because she had to, but because she wanted to. She took care of me. I was more a daughter's girl than she was mama's girl.
So she was doing all that unselfishly, trying to help you out and help you have the best life that you could have.
Yeah, she was an incredible person. The world is a much sadder place with her gone.
If you can, tell us a little bit about her and, what her life was like at the time this happened, her background. Did she have a job? Did she have a boyfriend? I mean, what was she a typical, young 20-something-year-old?
To some degree, yeah. She was, it sounds funny. Parents always say this because we're biased. My daughter was beautiful. She made friends everywhere she went. Guys, flocked to her. She was smart and she was funny. She was incredible. I mean, I always swore I would never turn somebody into a saint just because they passed away. My daughter could be a bitch. I mean, that girl was a hellcat. She was a fighter. She didn't take shit from anybody. She was Bubba from the time she was 2. I mean, I don't know. She was incredible.
If you can, just sort of walk us through what happened back in June of 2016, how this all started.
It was, the Saturday, the 26th was a Sunday. That Saturday, the 25th, I had been out, our truck had broke down that day. It had been a hot day in California because we're close to Death Valley. We got back. She had a friend that came over. I don't say names, but she had a friend that came over, and he and I sat and talked while she kind of bebopped around and got ready and everything. During the course of the conversation, they talked about borrowing our truck to run to another town over to get Taco Bell, because Deverrie adored Taco Bell. But she wanted Taco Bell. They said they were going to go to the store real quick, walk to the store, and then come back and see about the truck. It was probably about between 9 and 10, I think, maybe. They left. I hollered out as she went out, I love you, be good, Everything we always do. And they left. She didn't come home that night. Part of me was a little concerned. I'm the mom, but I mean, she was 23. She didn't win as she pleased. She was a grown-up. It didn't stress me out much. And then the next day, right before noon, I got a text message from my mom telling me they had found a body in the park across the street from our house. I texted my daughter several times, begging her to reply, begging her to respond, and she didn't. I took my granddaughter with me, and I got in my truck, and I drove to every house that I knew Deverrie had friends looking for her.
when we finally got back to the house, my granddaughter's other grandparents took the rest. And then my roommate yelled out, "Dad, the cops are here." And I picked up my phone as I went down the hallway. I went my mom. And I got to the door, and they told me my daughter was gone.
And I can't even fathom how that must have felt. It's right across the street from your house, too, so it's, so close to home there. What did they tell you? Did they say anything immediately as far as what had happened, or, were you in a state of shock at the time? Did you not even hear what they said? How did that happen?
Yeah, I'd never really put a name to it, but I guess I was in shock. I don't remember. I knew when my friend yelled out, "The police were here." I knew. I knew it was her. From that point on, I don't know what they said. I know a couple hours went by and I not calmed down, but I'd come to my senses and everybody in the house kind of came out to the front yard to cool off. It was hot. And I took off watching it, like just booking it across the parking lot of the park where my daughter was. Because I was going to find out where she died. And I got over there real quick. I had everybody was following me. And I got over there and I saw 2 cop cars. And I ran up to the cops. I asked them, where? Tell me, please, tell me where. And they pointed it off over the other side of the park to like a dirt alleyway that goes between the golf course and the park. It's probably like 8 feet wide, 100 yards long, maybe. I went back there and there was nothing there. She wasn't there. I don't remember.
And so at that time, this is all going on. You're trying to take this all in, and obviously it's a big, devastating news. What did the police tell you? Did they have any suspects? Did they have anything that might help them? Did they tell you anything at all about what was going on?
To be honest with you, at that point, I was so distraught for a few days there. I signed over custody of my daughter to my husband and my mom because I could not even comprehend signing paperwork that would allow her to even be cremated. I couldn't do it. I could more easily sign over custody of her than I could sign that paperwork. I don't remember what they said. To be honest with you, I don't even. My detective now has been the same detective that came and told me, and I do not put those 2 people as the same people. I don't remember him telling me she was gone, but if he did, I was beyond distraught.
At the time this happened, thinking back, did Deverrie have any enemies or anybody that might have wanted to hurt her, ever have any problems with anybody?
It's possible, to be honest with you. I mean, there were always females that were jealous of Deverrie. I mean, if anybody's questioning it, they're welcome to look at her profile. My daughter was beautiful. Girls envied that. Guys love that. She wasn't. Guys got rejected a lot. Girls got jealous a lot. I think there were people that didn't like her. I'm sure. There were probably just people that did. I don't remember any of them being what I would consider a threat. She was a little badass. She didn't go down easy. I guarantee she didn't go down easy.
And had any crimes like this ever happened in your area during that time period? Was there anything like this in the news or anything in that area that made you think this might be something that could happen to her?
No, there was. Cal City's a small town. I actually grew up in that town back in the 80s and 90s. It was peaceful. It was a good place. It was a tiny little place, like 6,000 people. It was peaceful. We left our doors unlocked at night. I sound like an old lady. We left our doors unlocked at night. You don't do that shit here now. It's up to 13,000 people. It's not a nice place. You don't leave doors unlocked. You don't leave windows unlocked. You don't leave anything unlocked. It's guaranteed it will walk. It's just an evil place now. That there had me scared for her, but not anything like specific.
You know, I think one of the challenges that the police agency handling this case is facing is lack of resources, lack of funding, and that's a common thing with many police forces now that are, you know, they don't have the necessary resources to fully investigate things. How has that hindered the investigation into your daughter's murder?
I consider my detective, I consider him a friend. I consider that man a hero. To me, anyway. He has done everything he could do in the little bit of a time he was allotted. There were like 16 police officers on the force. Here recently, the city went through this silly thing where everybody wanted to wanted to vote down this tax. By the third round of voting on the same tax, it was down to we were going to lose our police department and our fire department if they voted no on this. From 16 officers, they were going to go all the way down to 4. They were able to handle that town with 16. That town would have become just a lawless mess if that tax hadn't passed. But my detective, aside from just being a detective working on my daughter's case, there are 5 unsolved murders in Cal City right now and 3 unsolved missing persons in the last 12 years. That's to me, that's a high number for such a small place. The detective at times has had to go in uniform and hand out traffic tickets on a regular basis because they don't have enough cops. If he's handing out tickets, he's not investigating murders. But they didn't have enough people to cover everything. They just, like in the last couple of weeks, passed that tax on the 3rd try. And now, I don't know what they're doing. I don't do politics either. They're throwing everything they have into getting the city fixed again. I don't know that that's going to work. They're going to hire hired detectives to come in and work the unsolved crimes, the big ones, and hopefully that will get us somewhere. But it's been crazy. Cal City has had this big marijuana thing going on. They're having people come out and grow and stuff like that. That took up a lot of the time of the detective. There's 2 detectives. They can't be doing all the extra stuff and still deal with the crimes that they're supposed to.
So they're spread thin and short-handed, but, you know, your detective that's working with you is a hero and he's doing the best he can with the resources and the time that he has.
I really do believe that. I've never, I've heard people like bashing their police departments or whatever. I don't talk shit about the police department. I don't talk bad about Sergeant Hayes. That man he's really tried. And if nothing else when it's over with, he deserves an award strictly for having dealt with me for this long. I'm a pain in the ass.
And that's a good thing for Deverie's case because that's the kind of thing that will keep that in focus and keep it in the news and on social media and stuff. So, you know, I've talked to so many people that sometimes when you're quiet and you sit back, it will allow it to go to the back burner. But I think you've been very vocal, and hopefully that's something that's going to keep spreading awareness of Deverie's case. So tell us a little bit about how it was that you came to put up those signs or those billboards about your daughter's case.
Back probably in November or December, a friend of mine showed me the trailer for that movie, 3 Billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri. And they said they saw it earlier in the day, and they thought that the woman in it was just like me. And they showed it to me, and I kind of laughed with them. So to a couple more people, and like people were kind of agreeing with it, and it kind of just caught on in my head that maybe, I could do it. I'm trying to keep her name in the media, trying to keep her out there, trying to keep her prevalent. I thought this might be a way to possibly call attention to it more and see if maybe someone will talk about it. It just seemed like a good idea at the time.
And have they gotten a lot of attention? Have you had a lot of people talk to you about the signs?
I don't know that it's really been a lot of people. I mean, we watched it on the news. It got seen, I guess, over on the East Coast in areas. People were telling me they'd seen it over there. I don't really talk to a lot of people. I kind of say to myself, but I watched it on media, on social media.
it garnered some attention. I couldn't really say how much, but it did. It got some people's attention, I think, for a minute.
In the movie, the woman that put those signs up was sort of trying to egg on the police. From what I understand, you are supportive of the police, but you still want to bring awareness to this case, but not necessarily doing it to torment the police.
I guess kind of for me, there's a distinction between the police and my detective. He is the detective that's got my daughter's case. Has been amazing. If nothing else, when it's over, I keep telling people he deserves an award just for putting up with my butt. I've been a pain in the butt, and he's done everything he could all along through this whole thing, trying to figure it out. It's just that his job prevents him actually from being able to do his job. I try to be supportive. I don't know how to do this. He's a good guy. He's the only one who deals with that case.
And those signs that you put up, were they just signs that you put out on your own, or did you have to pay for advertising for them?
Well, no, I had actually. There was a couple of people that helped me out with it. A couple of Deverrie friends, a couple of my friends, basically. We did all the painting. We did all the social digging. We got all the materials. We did all of it, and then we just put it out there. We didn't get permission or nothing. We just put it out there. It's on the busiest road, basically going out of town or into town, in hopes that maybe somebody would see it.
Well, they're certainly eye-catching, and in the movie, it worked to get her point across, so hopefully people out there are paying attention to you for Deverrie.
I sure hope so, because she never deserved this.
Yeah.
She had she should be here. And it shouldn't be 2 years passed to find out who the hell did it to us. Who did it to all of us. Because, I'm not the only one that lost her. A lot of people lost her.
Yeah, let's hope you get those answers and find out who did this. Do they keep you updated on a regular basis as far as any leads or potential things that are going on with the case? Do they ever, say, hey, we're still working on it and we think we're getting closer to finding who did this to her?
I don't know that he ever actually had that option. I see my detective generally at least once a week. I go in and find him. I hunt him down and we sit down and powwow. I recently moved out of the city, another city over, so I don't get in as often, but you can bet I text him and I call him on a regular basis. I've gathered as much information, I think, as they have, with the exception of the scientific aspects of it. The stuff I find out, I take to him and I discuss with him. I'm careful. I don't say names. The people that do talk to me, I tell them directly, look, I want to hear anything you have to say. I will not tell anybody your name unless it comes down to it's going to solve my kid's murder, and then I'm going to shoot like a goddamn canary. That's how it works. And I tell people that. So whatever information they've given me, I've taken to him.
Have you had luck getting a lot of information and getting a lot of tips from people and things that you think might possibly help solve the case?
It's really hard to say. There's a Limp Bizkit song called Break Stuff, and one of the lines is it's all about the he said, she said bullshit. I've heard so many stories, people trying to help. It's been a nightmare that people can come up with stuff that they can come up with. I don't understand it. It's been crazy. I'm not a trained investigator. I just play one in real life, and it's not fun. We share what we find out. I don't know if it's going to help. I wish I did.
Now, to your knowledge, with it, not naming any names or anything, but do you think the police have a suspect or somebody they think might have done this that they're considering?
There's several suspects. There's DNA evidence. It's an odd situation. There's no lack of theories about who did it and why. They just can't prove it yet.
Hopefully, if there is DNA evidence, they can use that and possibly one day lead them to the right person that did this. Have you, in your own mind, had any suspects or any of your own suspicions about who might have done it?
Oh, well, yeah. Deverrie and I were close. I knew all of her friends for the most part. They were like, if she saw them more than a couple times, they met me for sure. I met all her friends. I knew who all of them were. I have no idea. I don't know. I have suspects. I have people that I think could have, until somebody's actually arrested for it. I have no idea.
I mentioned a little earlier, I've seen a lot of videos of you discussing with news crews and doing interviews and stuff. You're pretty out there and vocal about the case. One thing I saw that you did was even go as far as to sort of demonstrate or display the way that her body was found, just to try and let people see what happened. How hard was it doing that and having to go through those steps to try and, make people aware of what happened?
That was incredibly hard. When my daughter's body was found, somebody took a picture of my daughter's body laying on the ground there. It got circulated around social media very briefly before numerous people pounced on it and shut it down before I saw it. Within 3 months, I had the picture of my daughter's body on the ground. That's how I found out where she was found. And I have a giant diamond up on the fence. That's her memorial.
It's disgusting that would happen, that would wind up on social media like that. And luckily they were able to shut it down and take that down. But it's like insult to injury. You have to go through losing your daughter that way. And then to have the humiliation of knowing that there's a picture of her after she's dead on social media is terrible.
Yeah, I have a digital copy of it. I can't look at it. On the anniversary, this last one that you were talking about, I had a friend of mine, just similar to how she was in the picture. And I wouldn't look at the picture. I had a friend of hers look at the picture who didn't know my daughter and pose our friend on the ground. I had wanted to hold her hand. I couldn't do it. All I could do was brush the sand off of her arm.
It's awful. Seeing that and knowing that this made it onto social media actually gave you an idea that social media, instead of displaying a picture of her body in such a disgusting manner, could be used for something positive, and you decided that you wanted to start a page for her to do something positive and help generate tips and leads. How successful has that been in your area? Do you get a lot of people coming to your Facebook page for her case?
Not so much for her case. Basically, I have my profile page, and then after that, I have 2 pages that are dedicated to Deverrie. I have Deverrie Schiller, Diamonds Are Forever, and that page is strictly friends and family. And then I have Help Find Who Murdered Boo, and that one is the public page. Very rarely do I get, it's mostly people that come to pay their respects, I guess. As far as the tips go, most of the times if I get tips, I get them through Messenger. So that there's not, they just hit me up out of nowhere and want to tell me things. And I don't know that it's been generated by the pages. I don't know what generates it.
Well, it's good to have it up there because maybe somebody will share it on their social media and then keep the case alive.
And that's what I'm trying so hard to do. It's not getting any easier.
If somebody out there listening, let's just say there's somebody in your town or a town nearby, hears this on this podcast and they say, I think I know something about that, or I heard something, who should they contact to share that information with?
Sergeant Hayes, Shannon Hayes at CCPD would be the number one person to contact. That number is 760-373-8606. If they're scared to talk to cops, they can hit me up. They can look at any of those Facebook pages. They can write it down and put his name on it and drop it off at the post office. There's so many ways that they just need help. If they know something, they just need the help.
Even if it's something small, they can remain anonymous and share what they know, and even do something small like that to try and help.
Yeah, anything. You never know what's going to be the one that's going to crack it open, that's going to put who in touch with who, and somebody knows something there. Any little thing could be something. Even if it's just they want to share a memory of her with me. You know, I mean, some people need to keep talking about it. Somebody knows who did this.
Thank you for joining me for this episode of The Murder in My Family. If you enjoy this podcast, please take a moment to rate and review it on Apple Podcast or wherever you listen to podcasts, so that the show can continue to reach new listeners. To learn more about the show or the cases we discuss, please visit themurderinmyfamily.com. You can also find us on Twitter with the handle @MurderInMyFam, or by searching for the Murder in My Family podcast on Facebook. If you'd like to support the show on Patreon, it's always appreciated, and you can do so by visiting patreon.com/themurderinmyfamily. If you prefer to, you can always support the show through a PayPal donation by visiting paypal.me/themurderinmyfamily. In each episode, I'll give shout-outs to any new supporters. In this episode, I'd like to thank Jane Skelton, Jeanette Butler Fergie, and Andre Davis Johnson. I'd also like to thank a supporter who asked that their name not be used, but I still wanted them to be recognized, so hopefully they know that this is for them. Thanks to all of the supporters that generously donate and keep the podcast going. Your support is appreciated and helps the show grow and improve. Until next time, remember, every murder victim means something to somebody.